I want to thank everybody for coming, and I would like to talk a little bit about the SBDC and what our mission is. And today here, it's about resources. It's about connections. It's about getting together. What are we going to do in our recovery? And today is special for the SBDC. I want to thank everybody for supporting the event, Fulton Bank, Columbia, Unity, Harvest Small Business, and of course, RBAC, Regional Business Assistance Corporation. The mission of the SBDC is to provide unmatched services to our clients and bring high-level value to the small business community. So in terms of being a resource, how do we get that done? We get that done by helping others succeed. And today is a testament to how you all are here to help others succeed. The SBDC is funded by the United States Small Business Administration, colleges and universities across the country, state of New Jersey, and we are proud to be part of the Anisfield School of Business in Mahwah, New Jersey at Ramapo College. The press that we've had, you all sign up for our social media and see what we're doing. It's because we're bringing resources to the community. In the back is Jacob and my one of our interns. We've developed a cutting-edge intern program. A graduate a year ago, Ryan Greff, has worked with Tom. We've developed ways to provide thousands of hours of services to the small business community with the use of interns and our consultants. And we've partnered with Westfield Mall to provide services to incoming retailers, those that wish to have a property in the mall, and a lot of other initiatives of the SBDC I will discuss during our break because, again, we know how shy I am, and I don't want to take too much time off of my 2 minutes to introduce the Small Business Development Center at Ramapo College in New Jersey. Thank you. Today's a special day. You've all made it that way. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Vincent. So next, one of our sponsors I'd like to introduce is RBAC, which stands for Regional Business Acceptance Corporation. Thank you for being a sponsor for this event. RBAC is a premier SBA lender servicing New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. William Pasmino is the executive director.
So good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming and attending this event. So I'm gonna be short. So for those of you that doesn't know RBAC, we are the Regional Business Assistance Corporation, and we are an economic development organization. We provide business loans, and we provide training to small business owners. We have a range of products that we can make loans from $5,000 to over $10 million when we partner with the SBA 504 loans. We have about 25 employees across New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York metropolitan area. So basically, we focus more in those customers that for some reason they cannot get conventional financing. So the SBA is a second source to obtain those loans. And basically, we work one-on-one with you. And if there is a chance that you need a small business loan, let us know. We are here in this table, so some of our lenders are here. So feel free to ask any question, get to know us, and enjoy the presentation. And thank you again for being here.
All right. Thank you. Now, our feature presentation. He's got 16 accolades for me to read through. We'll cut it down to 8 because I know the real guy. All right. My buddy Todd Smith, as I mentioned, real good guy. We both have the tremendous love for music. We talk music all the time. We're classic rock guys. A lot of our heroes are classically gone. And so he is the funding source consultant for the SBDC at Ramapo College, managing member of Royce Joseph Capital. Keep going. He is the 2021 NJ Biz Magazine Financial Executive Honoree, guest lecturer at Montclair State University and Bergen County Community College, the 2021 Congressional District 11 Hero, has conducted national webinars, and he is a published author. Guys, help me welcome our presenter today, Todd Smith.
That's yours. Yeah, mine don't work. Thank you very much, Tommy, and welcome everyone. This is part of, as Vince said, this is part of SBDC's ongoing programs to bring knowledge and enlightenment to the business community. So thank you very much for attending, and Vince, thank you for holding the event. A great attitude coupled with a well thought out and executed plan is the path to success. A great attitude without a plan is only a party. I would venture to believe everyone in this room has seen at least one football game in their life. We may have avid fans, we may have average fans, or we may just have those who show up at the Super Bowl. Even my trumpet teacher, who hates sports, was in the marching band, so I'm assuming saw at least one game. And do you realize all the games begin the same? The teams, they come running out of the tunnel, frequently being led by someone with a team or school flag. Sometimes they're on horseback. I've seen the teams run through flares, and on really high-profile games, there are fireworks. And the stadiums today hold upwards of 80,000 people, and it's an exciting part of the game, and everyone's on their feet. What would happen if they got to the sideline and someone said, "Yo, coach, I mean, that was great. What's next?" How much excitement would be left in the stadium? Or the opposite. What would happen if they walked out of the tunnel reading their playbook as if they're students studying for a final exam or a midterm? How much would the competition be concerned, and would the opposing team fear them? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. It takes both to succeed. And let's take that one step further. Everyone here is an accomplished business person. Imagine the acute knowledge you have in your profession, all the idiosyncrasies and all that knowledge that you pick up working through your profession is a high-end automobile sitting in your driveway. And you choose Lamborghini, Maserati, the big new Corvette, Rolls-Royce, Mercedes-Benz, or for me, a 1967 XKE Jaguar convertible. You decide whichever one you want. And there's a drum, 50-gallon drum of gasoline sitting on your property somewhere. And your GPS is either in your house or turned off in your car. Have you ever given any thought? All three of those are worthless unless they come together. A car with gasoline is nothing but a hunk of metal in your driveway. Who houses a 50-gallon drum on their property? And what good is a GPS if you don't have a vehicle to use it? No, it takes all three to succeed in business, as it takes all three to get from point A to point B in your vehicle. I'm going to ask you to do one thing here today, and I didn't say mentally first and people got up, so mentally, remove yourself from your chairs, put yourself in what I call the skybox. The skybox is that spot in the stadium where they put the additional coaches and they put the press. It's strategically placed. It's designed to be there because it has the best viewpoint and vantage point of the entire field. In football, it is goal line to goal line, sideline to sideline. They see it all. They have a better view than the head coach. There are times during a football game the head coach is blurred. They're either blurred because the play's too far down the field, or there's another player, or the referee runs in front of them. And those who have watched football know exactly what I mean because we've seen it. So you move yourself to the skybox, because when you change your perspective, the outcomes will be different. So the question becomes, what is in the plan? Wow, it worked this time. What is in the plan? The end is first. The end is always first. Where do you want to go, and what do you want to accomplish? And I always tell people to put a date on it. Why a date? Let me give you this example. If you ask a freshman, I don't know if anyone has freshmen in high school right now, they will give you, within a couple days, what day they're graduating high school. Doesn't matter if it's 4 years out. You ask a freshman in college, we have a college student here. Jacob, do you know in a reasonable amount of time what day you're graduating next year? Within a week or so? Right? The month? He knows. It's all focused on that. College students, when my daughters were in college, they knew when they were graduating. Football camp. You ask a football player at football camp the first day, he'll tell you when the Super Bowl is. Spring training, they know when the World Series is. Olympic athletes know when the Olympics are and the trials are. And what is the difference? The difference is someone else set the date. For you, you set the date. And when someone else has set the date, you work into the work to accomplish. The question is, will you do the same for yourself? That's the question. Obstacles. You always put the obstacles in the plan. People ask, why obstacles? For those in the banking world that are here today, overcoming obstacles is 75% of how we get a loan through. That is basically it. There's always an obstacle. To even put it in a better perspective, have you ever asked yourself what a football play actually is? What is a football play? A football play is a strategic plan designed for incremental success of either obtaining a first down or a touchdown, depending upon where you are on the field, knowing you have 11 obstacles in the way. And success will be the same thing. There will be an obstacle every day. Some will be minute and some will be large. The key to success is knowing and understanding your obstacles. If you're new to business, I've mentored people on this. If you're starting out in business and you're new, you're going to come out with 1,000 reasons why you shouldn't do it. I tell people to write them on paper. Don't use a computer. I love computers. I couldn't function without. Some things still require paper and pen or paper and pencil. Put all the things that you can think of on the left. Write them all down. Doesn't matter what it is. Then take a really good look at them. I venture to guess you, by the time you're done writing them down, some of them will be perceived obstacles. Going, I got this. I got that. And then on the right, put a solution-focused question. And slowly the answers will appear. And we'll go through that as we move forward. Knowledge. The acquisition of knowledge should never stop when we get our diplomas. What you know today should be less than what you know tomorrow. And should be far less than what you know on Monday. I've broken this all down into 4 distinct specific modules required for achievement. These are the 4 modules required for achievement. Attitude, we're going to talk about an attitude. Everyone says it begins with an attitude. Preparation, you have to be prepared for success. Does a football player, a baseball player, for my music fan back there, do you think a musician walks on stage at Madison Square Garden without being prepared? Never. We're going to talk about the sales cycle. It's a little different than what you've seen in sales cycle, I'm sure. and we're going to plug it all in to the formula for success. So where does it all begin? It all begins with the attitude. What is a great attitude? Attitude, the word attitude and attitude itself can be defined in the dictionary. Now, us who grew up in New Jersey, we've got a little bit different definition, don't we, Tommy, of what an attitude is? But what really is a great attitude? I have felt it to be impossible to define. I don't think there's one sentence that defines a great attitude. I believe there are traits that people have that definitely define a great attitude. The first are forward thinking. A person with a great attitude is always thinking. They're the ones that wake up in the morning and no matter what is going on, man, they're thinking about how great the day is. They are the ones that have a lousy day at work and one thing went right, they're driving home. They're driving home thinking of the one thing that went right. They refuse to be stalled. They know where they're going and they've got the wherewithal internally to do so. I also believe it's a conscious decision. I absolutely believe having a great attitude is a conscious decision. I'd be hard-pressed to think anyone in this room has not been challenged some point in life. I'd be hard-pressed to think. Certain challenges, for example, Alex's challenge may be small to me, but it's massive to him. A challenge I'm facing, Matt may say, Todd, I got this, man. We're like, what are you fretting about? Doesn't matter. Our challenge is what we face is unique to us. And I truly believe it's a conscious decision. They bring out the best in people. A person with a great attitude brings out the best in people, and they're also a magnet to well-accomplished, internally successful. The word success gets thrown around a lot. Just because someone is wealthy doesn't mean they're internally successful. They attract people who are inside are successful. They've also mastered frustration. They've mastered frustration. When frustration arises, it can be your friend or it can be your foe. And the decision is yours to make. When it is your foe, it will freeze you in place and won't let you move and get out of your own way. People who have mastered frustration spend 20% of their time thinking about a solution, or rather 20% of their time dwelling on the problem, 80% of the time thinking of a solution. People where frustration is their friend. And I think I got that backwards. 20% of, that's all right, 20% of your time when it's your friend is understanding the problem, 80% is looking for a solution. When it's your foe, it's the other way around. And you know that 80% becomes 85%? It then becomes 90%, and next thing you know, you are stuck. They are also the people that when you have a business meeting, those who have a great attitude, they understand. And when you have a business meeting, we've all been called into business meetings, either for clients, wherever the hierarchy is, and something that's going well. Well, there's a certain person that walks in that room that you realize it's going to be okay because they understand the 20-80 principle. They understand the 20-80 principle. Because once a problem arises, there's no sense dwelling it over too much. It's not going to change it. The only thing that changes it is the solution. Mastering frustration is key. I'm going to discuss 6 people right now. 3 that I believe have overcome frustration. 3 you've probably heard of. They've received national recognition and probably international recognition. And 3 I know personally. The first one is David Sanborn. Is anyone a jazz musician here? Jazz? David Sanborn is a contemporary jazz saxophonist. I've seen him in concert. I have his CDs. Incredible player. 11 Grammys, I believe, or 11 gold records, a couple Grammys, and a few platinum CDs. Do you realize how he started playing saxophone? It was therapy for polio at the age of 3. Now, nothing for nothing, many of us have children in this room. If your child is sick, is the first thing you go, hey, I'm buying them a saxophone? They must have been winding down on how to resolve this issue. His parents must have been extremely frustrated. And what happened? He's gone on to greatness. Greatness in lieu of the challenge. Warren Moon and Kurt Warner. Anyone football fans here? Okay. You know what's unique about their story? They're both in the Hall of Fame. Do you know they were never drafted? They were never drafted. So think about this. Football draft day comes up, and someone goes, bam, I don't want you. I don't want you. Both have won Super Bowls. Can you imagine that? That'd be like Jacob graduating college with his diploma and can't get a job, going, bam, we don't want you. And they went on to greatness in lieu of it. That's what I'm talking about, mastering frustration. The next 3, you may have heard of, you may not. I gave a very shortened version of this presentation in November, and there was actually a cousin of the first one there. And I said, well, you tell him, and I hope I treated him well. Scott Chesney. I don't know if anyone's heard of him, see him speak. He grew up locally here in New Jersey. His parents owned the local florist shop that we bought our boutonnieres and corsages for the prom. They were the couple that no one had anything bad to say about. And we all have them in our neighborhood. They were just like great people. He was a star athlete. He was a star athlete. He went to bed one night healthy and woke up the next morning not being able to walk at 16 years old. 16. There is a virus, which I'm not a medical person, that attacked his spine, that there still isn't a resolution to this day. And he's probably a man now, trying to do the math. He's got to be in his 50s now. He is obviously a college graduate with multiple degrees. He's a family man. He is a tremendous motivational speaker. I've seen him at different events. He's around the world. I've seen him scuba dive. I have seen him surf. I have seen him. Life's little challenges, right? Come on, cut the law. Let's keep it paid. I've also, they've done a movie about him called Ride the Wave. I haven't seen the movie yet. They've done a movie. That's mastering frustration. I have to this day never seen him without a smile on his face. And I saw him in a wheelchair when he was 16 and a half years old. Charlie Fleischer. I know my man in the back knows him. Charlie Fleischer. The same way. Charlie Fleischer, no one knows him. I know him. He was the first person I met when I walked into a National Speakers Association meeting in a wheelchair. He's another man in his 40s, had a car accident, loss of his extremities. Tremendous motivational speaker. The man has toured the world. They all had decisions to make. They had specific decisions to make. Somewhere, do I smile and overcome this frustration, or do I get stuck in the mud? And the last one, anyone from Morris County other than me? Okay. The Seeing Eye Institute. I went to a luncheon there about 6 or 7 years ago, and I believe Tammy was there at that luncheon. And a gentleman spoke who ran it at that time named Dr. Kurtz. And he's retired now, so he's got a few years on me. And I was in awe of his story, and I went and read it again to make sure I heard it right. He was a chemistry fanatic, or played with chemicals when he was in his teens. He was in the basement of his house, and something blew up, and it took his eyesight out at the age of 16. Okay? In 1976, he was awarded a doctorate degree for inventing, designing, and building the first voice-actuated computer ever. That's overcoming frustration. So I don't think business frustration, I think we can all do it. Because when I get frustrated, that's who I think of. I admire all those people for what they've overcome. And like I said, some I know personally, and some I've never met Kurt Warner or David Sanborn. So the question is, how do you maintain a great attitude? As I said before, it's a conscious decision. But this is how I have come about maintaining a great attitude. Exercise. I really believe you have to exercise, and you don't have to be a gym fanatic. Go for a walk. Do something to stimulate the body, because I don't believe you can separate the mind and the body. Take time for yourself. Take time for yourself. You know, I believe there's 5 parts to life. There's our careers. We're all career people at this point. I believe you want to live in a nice house, a home rather. Define what, you know, that's yours to decide, right? I think we all want to believe in be in some kind of relationship. We don't want to live on an island where we don't have some relationship, and that could be marriage if you want. I'm not here to, whatever you define as a relationship is yours. And for us that have kids, we want to take care of our children. So what's the 5th one? In our house, we call it the part 5 of life. It's a hobby. It's something you do that brings you internal happiness that doesn't have ill effect on anyone, has 0 ill effect on anybody. And that's what I mean about taking time for your life. Break a pattern or routine. I've read several times that the worst time you can take a baseball player out of the lineup is when they're on a hitting streak. The worst time for a salesperson to take a vacation is when they're on a hot streak, because you've broken a good pattern. You want to take the ball player out of the game or out of the lineup when they're in a rut. And you definitely want to go on a vacation when you're on a rut. And that's probably the worst time to justify it, excuse me, because if you're a salesperson, you're on commissions, you're on a rut, you know, but that is really, believe it or not, the best time to go, because you've broken the pattern. Before I had all my knee issues, where I could no longer run, every time I had a challenge, I needed to make a decision, I went and ran 2 or 3 miles. Every time. And you know something? I never ran with anyone. I jogged for 25 years, never jogged with another person, and I never wore a headset. That was my time. I wanted to be left alone. I did jog with my German shepherds, but they didn't talk back. So I just kind of create manageable habits. For us who are driven, and I'm ventured to guess everyone in this room is driven. I know many of you, most all of you. Create manageable habits. If you want to, and I'm going to go back to jogging, if you want to start jogging, don't decide the first day out I'm doing 5 miles, okay? It's not going to work, all right? Okay? You know, if you really want a recommendation, choose a mile, run a quarter, walk a quarter, run a quarter, walk a quarter, and then build up from there, because you'll be happy at the end. Don't run till you're exhausted, because you'll be angry at yourself the next morning. Create manageable habits. Same thing for us in business. You know, for those that know me, it's not uncommon, Matt, to get an email from me 4:30 in the morning. I don't expect a response, but that's me. I work a lot, and I enjoy. But I am hard to get a hold of after dinner, and I am hard to get in. And if I'm having dinner with my wife, man, I usually don't pick up the phone. So I mean, that's my routine. But that is how you maintain. That is what a great attitude is, and that is how you maintain it. There's no sense understanding what it is if you don't create the work to maintain it. Everything takes work, which kind of reminds me a little bit of goals and work. Remember years ago, I don't know if they still do this anymore, they used to tell you to make a vision board of everything you want, all these little beautiful pictures. I think it's bunk. Unless it folds over and you can't see the pictures, and on the back side's all the work you have to do to get it. What good is a picture of that Dodge Viper or Plymouth Viper, whatever it was, that big mansion in the mountains or at the shore, if you're not going to do the work? And where's the work? In the words of Arthur Ashe, success comes from self-confidence. Self-confidence comes from preparation. There's 3 distinct preparation stages in everything we do, stages of preparation in everything we do. Personal, organizational, and action. It doesn't matter if it's sports, it doesn't matter if it's the theater, it doesn't matter if it's business, it doesn't matter if you're repairing a car, you doing a loan, you doing your lobster work, it doesn't matter. They are 3 distinct stages of preparation. And you know what the most important one is? Is personal preparation. Because we all own it. We all own it. I believe everyone should have a personal preparation program that comprises 15 to 30 minutes a day of reading something. 15 to 30 minutes a day. Now, when I say read, I'm a reader. I may have something to do because I've written books. But, you know, I'm partial to reading because I can do it in my backyard, do it in my office, do it in the living room, sitting room, wherever. Please take that to mean information accumulation, because I know the podcasts exist, YouTubes exist, there's books on tape, or I mean books on CD now. I guess we don't even have tapes. But I've dated myself a little bit, right? I do have a wind-up thing, you know. All kidding aside, I still have a turntable with all my albums. So, there's Tommy. I knew that. I was wondering if you were listening, Tommy. So I'm sending things out to see.
Only when I heard Albert.
So I think it's critical, and I'm going to explain why when we get through it all. So what do you study? That's the big question. We have more information available to us than any time in history. First, you have to be a master of your profession, bar none. You have to master your profession. All of our professions are changing at least yearly in some way, shape, or form. Some may be small, some may be large. When was the last time anyone really FedExed anything in large quantity? We now zip file it and send it off. Download services. I mean, I've done a business with several of the bankers here. None of the bankers here that I recall doing business with that I ever FedEx package to you. We shrunk them and zip filed. They're a file share service. 10 years ago, they did not exist to the magnitude they did today. How many people had to master Zoom over the last 2.5 years? I don't like to leave my office anymore. I said, you know, there's no commuting time. It's become efficient. But that's just not, it's just not that. I mean, think about how you look if you're not on top of your profession. Somewhere around the year 1980-ish, there was a computer program out called CAD, Computer Assisted Drafting, for those, and I know many people have seen the drawings in their business. Up until that time, buildings were designed with T-squares and triangles, which date back to the Greek and Roman empires. So what would happen if you wanted to hire an architect and you walk in their office and all they have is the T-square and a triangle? Right? That's how we all look if we're not on top of stuff and on top of stuff and on top of stuff. It's the same thing with medical procedures. I think it was 12 years ago. I mean, I'm probably close to your time. A machine came out called the Da Vinci, which provides minimally invasive surgery. The doctor sits behind a joystick, okay? What would happen if you needed that procedure and the surgeon you went to, you looked at you and said, nah, we've been doing it this way since 1980. I'm cutting you open just like that. Yeah, you wouldn't have any confidence. This is what these preparation programs, what instills confidence in you that you relay to your client. How many times have you heard people do business with those that know you, like you, and trust you? Right? How many people have heard that? It's not one of my favorite sayings either. You're going to find a lot of things I disagree with. Maybe that's why my father was always annoyed at me. I don't know. But you're going to find, I think it falls short. It should be know, like, trust, and have confidence in. As many of you know, and I've alluded to it, I play trumpet, okay? I am not a trumpet player yet. I play trumpet. And I know a lot of musicians. I know a lot of musicians. I know musicians who've played with Bruce Springsteen, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Southside Johnny. I know musicians who were a lead act that toured Europe. I know musicians who've played Madison Square Garden, and their numbers are all in my phone. They'll all take my call. They know me, they like me, and they trust me. Trust meaning if the gig starts at 8 o'clock, they know that I will be there in plenty of time. When I get on stage, am I good enough yet for them to have confidence in me that I can play at their level? That's a whole different arena. This is where you get that. What else do you study? Your client's industry. Your client's industry. If you are B2B, many times we are theoretically, even though we're not a raw material, we're a raw material for the next business to enhance their client. You need to understand your client's industry. Also, it goes a long way when you meet with your clients that you have a working knowledge of their industry. And I'll go one step further. I believe you need to study your client's industry. For those of us who are B2B, the money that our clients are going to spend on us, how is it going to benefit their client? You know, I like to use the grocery store scenario. Architect, and there's one here actually in the chamber who designs grocery stores. A grocery store architect or designer, however, whatever verbiage they use, right? He designs a grocery store. Yes, he wants to make his client happy, the owner. Who does he really want to make happy? The buyer of the groceries. Because if he can make the buyer of the groceries happy through efficiency, aesthetics, and the other things that attract buyers, by default, the owner is going to be happy. Because you know who ultimately is paying the architect? The buyer of the groceries. The money just stops in the middle. We should always be on top of our clients' industry. And again, we're looking at 15, 30 minutes a day. We don't need to be experts. How to effectively communicate with people. Every single profession has a basic. Athletes, it's athleticism, your physique, and nutrition. Okay? Music. C-scale's another exercise. The C-scale I started playing years ago and decades ago is the exact same C-scale I practice every time. I never skip it. That's what I practice. And other exercises. That's my first 15, 20 minutes. Effectively communicating with people is the basics, the real basics of business. Because whether you are B2B, B2C, we are all B2P. We're all B2P. I mean, theoretically, Dana's business, Dana's company, Harvest, engaged the SBDC to do some work on behalf of Mo. Who's here? Dana, the person, Mo, the person, and Todd, the person. Yes, we have name tags or whatever. It's always B2P. There are 4 basic personality traits, and sometimes I forget one. Let's see if we can get analytical, amiable, driver, and enthusiastic. Those are the 4 basic personality types. And do you know they were first written about in Greek literature? That's how far back they go. Now, people have made big businesses out of them. Sometimes they call them discs. There's all kinds of stuff. But basically, they were first noted in Greek literature. This is my disagreement number 3. Everyone wants to talk about the differences. I believe there's more similarities than differences. Look around this room. Look around the room. Every personality type's in this room. Every one. And some simple math, we all fit into one of the 4. Now they cross over into some other stuff, but conceptually, we divide the room in 4s. So what's the big difference? Because I always believe in looking at the similarities. It's how they process information and the language and the demeanor in which they go through it. People think the only people who are successful are drivers. That is not true. I know some people who are on the amiable personality and they are really successful. Really successful. It's the language they speak. We live currently, right here where we are today at the Meadowlands, 30 miles from the United Nations, 10 miles from Manhattan. We live in the most eclectic spot in the country, if not the world. And we interact with people of all nationalities, all backgrounds, faiths. When you have a client where English is not their first language and their English is a little rough, how hard do you go out of your way to communicate? Because you want them as a client, you want their business? How far out of your way? Why don't we do that when there are people that on a personality basis are not like us? Because the more people you can relate to and effectively communicate with, the greater your pool of prospects and the greater your batting average. How important is personal preparation? I'm going to tell you a little story. We're going to go back a few years. Mo wanted to come hear my stories, right? He only came to hear the stories. I'm going to go back a few years, late 1960s. For some of us, we may remember them. For others of us may not have been here, and some really may not remember them, all right? Late 1960s. My family, we had a slate and tile roofing style company, and in the 1960s, I was a little boy, late 1960s. And I grew up in a neighborhood where there were a lot of kids, 21 houses. Most of the men were vets. You know the whole scenario. Donna Reed, Leave It to Beaver. It was all in our neighborhood, right? Father knows best. And we all had a magazine subscription to either Popular Science or Popular Mechanics. We all had one. Some of us had 2. I don't recall which one I had. But we would share them. And we would read them cover to cover. I mean, it was like you know, if you were a guy in that neighborhood, you had one of them. That's the way I grew up. And all of a sudden, one shows up one day. What's new in the roofing industry? Now, I read it. I'm all excited. I'm 10 years old, give or take a year. I'm going to help my dad. I'm going to help my dad. I come running downstairs. I had a second, you know, my bedroom was on the second floor. Dad, Dad. And he was probably reading the Newark Evening News. Does anyone remember the Newark Evening News? We used to have, for those who are younger than me, we used to get newspapers in the morning and at night, okay? The Newark Evening News, am I right? Ken remembers, you know, we used to get an evening newspaper and a morning newspaper. So he's probably reading the Newark Evening News, right? I'm going to help my father. I show him this. Dad, look, all this new information. He said, all right, son, I'll read it. So a couple days later, a week or so later, we're at dinner. Now, you know, if you're a young boy, the last thing you want to hear is your father go, Todd. So I'm sitting there go, oh boy, what did I do today, you know? He said, Don. I said, what's up? He said, you know, I read the article. I read the article. I said, he goes, I went to see a new client today. They had questions from the article. I had the answers. I got the contract. Now, how important was it to us back then? My mother hadn't returned to the workforce outside the home yet. It rested on my father. 4 children, a mortgage, you know, I don't know whether we had car payment or not. Car, utilities. He had to win. So the question I have to everyone here is, what's 15 to 30 minutes worth to you? To my family, that week or that month, it was worth everything. Personal preparation is one of the key foundations of success. The next is organizational preparation. Organizational preparation is about who are you going to work with. I really parallel this to the off seasons of football when they decide who they're going to sign, what football player they're going to sign a contract with. And beyond that, I take a look at it as if it's a Broadway play. Who are you going to bring in to do the scenery? Who are you going to bring in to do the music? Who are you going to bring in to do the actors, the actresses, all that? Who will you be working with? This is where leadership really begins. Right here is where leadership begins. Who are you going to work with? And for us who are solopreneurs, and there's quite a few of us in here who are solopreneurs, that means you too. Because, you know, even though you're a solopreneur, you're going to need someone. Take a look at the people, the solo athletes, the javelin. Someone's coaching the javelin thrower. The discus. Someone's coaching the discus thrower. The shot put, the 50-yard dash, and it goes on and on. Who are you going to work with? And choose carefully, okay? How everyone needs to work together. Who's going to do what? That's really how efficient is the loan application going to get from me to Mike Petrucci to the underwriters and out the other side? How's that system flow? How does that system work? Strategic planning. This is where it all begins. Could you imagine going to a football game? And I don't know how many people played football on the street when they were young. We used to draw plays on our hands or on somebody's back. I'm sure some of us remember that, right? Well, that's how we look in business if we don't have a plan every day, every week, every month, every year. Think about that. You're going in every day and you're drawing, hey, here's my back. What are we doing today? And above all, you need to study your competition. Absolutely need to study your competition. And frequently I hear from someone and they say, I have no competition. I'm going to tell you what a venture capitalist said once when I was at a seminar. He said, there's nothing we hate more than reviewing a new project, a new product, and the entrepreneur comes up and goes, I got this. We have no competition. You know what goes through their mind, they said? There's either no market for your product or you're foolish. I'll never forget that. That's what we all have competition. We all have competition, and you can learn a lot from studying your competition. Back to football. You don't think they study the competition before they go up to go meet them on a Sunday afternoon, Friday night, Saturday, whatever it is? Sure they did. That's how they're going to overcome the obstacles. How do you overcome getting a loan, one lender getting another loan from a different lender, or how you want to perceive it, of someone hiring me opposed to Dana? How do you look at that if you haven't studied them? There are competitors in here, friendly competitors, because I know a lot of the lenders know each other. And I'm a big firm believer of friendly competition. We'll go over that one another day. I think that we all should be able to shake hands. after the game, before the game, during the game. Hey man, I want the business just as much as you want the business, and that's fair. But we all should be able to sit down. That's my take on it. But you need to study your competition, because there are banks that do this really, really well and this really, really poor, okay? And then the other bank may do this really, really poor and this really, really well. And it goes for every industry. I just know a lot of the bankers here. You need to study the competition. And then the last one is action preparation. The coming together that should be of personal and organizational preparation, not or. The coming together of some. Hey, there are a few flaws in this, but I did okay. And what do I mean by that? How many people have been to a Broadway musical? Okay? That is action preparation. It is the dress rehearsal before the audience shows up. For those who have been to Broadway musicals, I just went to see The Wanderer at Paper Mill. I don't know if it's still there. It was a tremendous, tremendous play. Hey, there's a few seats up here if you want. 2 right here. Okay, there you go. Do you know the orchestra never saw the artists, the performers? They were either behind them or under the stage. Think about being that organized that the orchestra doesn't see the action and it flows like that. I can't, I mean, it amazes me every time I see it. The coming together of both personal and organizational preparation, and it's the responsibility of everyone, all the leaders. Now, this is all great stuff. This is the footings and the foundation of what we're going to talk about next, which is generating revenue on the next slide. And people sometimes ask, why is this important? I'm going to answer that question with a question you decide, and you can answer it for yourself. Why is an attitude and preparation important? How important are the footings and foundation of your house for its stability and the rest of the beautiful buildings we admire around the world? When you answer that question, you can answer the first one. This all comes to play as we go into the 7 steps of the sales cycle. There is awareness. What is awareness? Awareness, people need to know you exist. That's plain and simple. It's billboards. It's direct mail. People cannot hire you if they do not know you exist. Now, everyone, or most people, I hate using everyone, many of the people I talk to and consult with and done business with, I'm going to go on social media. I'm going to go on social media. Social media is a great platform. It's one of just many platforms. Because the question is, are your clients looking for you on social media? You need to be aware. Your clients need to be made aware of you where they are, not where you think that you should be. There's some industries that probably shouldn't even be on social media, other than maybe a website. People want to validate you. Introduction. That's when you meet someone. That is when you are ingratiated into their home or into their office. This defaults to be able to have an effective conversation with people. Because this is where it goes back to knowing how to communicate with people. Because people always say those who ask the questions control the conversations. This is my disagreement number 4. Those who ask the questions and can create a conversation, control the conversation, you'll get all the information you want. Because if it's just questions and answers, it's the lawyer and a person in the witness box. It's about creating a conversation and let the people ingratiate themselves with you and let them know that you have their best interest at heart. Analysis. That's when people are going to start talking to you and discussing their problem. They used to say all products solve a problem. I'm still working on the problem a Lamborghini and a Maserati solve. So there are some exceptions to the rule. You know, when I figure that out, I'll go back to all products solve a problem. But predominantly, we are in the solution providing business. That's what we do. I know the lenders provide solutions. There's a seat here, there's one here. Welcome. We provide solutions. And then these contracts can take on all kinds of different meanings. You know, Mo, who just stepped out for a little bit, he's in the automobile repair business, great mechanic. He supplies an estimate. The lenders supply term sheets. When I was in the building restoration business, we had really lengthy proposals detailing all the work we did. So every industry has its own little nuance, but when you provide the solution, that's something that the client, that's what you're going to do. 5. This is the one people love the most. This is the signing of the contract. This is where most people believe the sales cycle ends. I disagree with that too. The sales cycle does not end at the signing of the contract. It is an exciting time. It is the shortest part of the sales cycle. It is a signature. It is definitely the shortest part of the sales cycle. It's a signature. It's like the football going across the goal line. Or for my soccer fans, the ball going through the net. How long does it take the ball to get really through it? All the work's done beforehand. Number 6, fulfillment. You're going to do what you said you'd do. This is as critical to the sales cycle as anything, because this is where you start building your referral base and set up your next sale. That's where it goes back to personal preparation and organizational preparation. It doesn't matter. A lot of us are on what I call the front line of the economy. We know our clients, okay? We know them by name. We've been to their businesses. We've been out to eat with them. We've shaken their hands. There are people within our companies that may never know them personally like that. So that's how I define front line of the economy. Those people behind the scenes, they're as important to sales as the rest of us, because that's what's going to key up our next sale. Because if we can get the fulfillment at such a high level, it's almost like a billboard. You can reduce the spending on the awareness. And always follow up and follow through. That's the other one. Because if you follow up and follow through correctly, and there's a challenge or a small problem with what you did, when that happens, you may get it corrected. Next thing you know, you won them all over. Never believe the sales cycle ends at the signing of the contract. The last 2 are as critical as all of it. This formula for success, the 6 steps to the success formula. And you know something? We've all lived it. We have all lived it. This is how we got through school. And I picked this up, and I don't mean to dwell on football, but I'm a really visual guy. And all these concepts came one day when I watched a football game, and then one day I went to Broadway and I said, wow, this can all be transposed into business. This is the 6 steps for success. I call it incrementalism, and it is truly based upon a football team marching down the field. You set the goal. What do you want to achieve? You decide on the next step, and I have to share with you, this is really where a lot of people miss what is really the next step. You execute, you review the outcome, you adjust where necessary, and that's the other one that people decide the next step and adjust are really the ones that give people sometimes a hard time, because they're focused on the goal and they really don't know what they need to do next. It's like building a house. When you're building a house, what's the first step? got to find the lot. But yes, once you have the lot, but then you have to go to the planning board, and then you have to, so I mean, there are weeks and months to getting to the point of building the house. You adjust where necessary and you repeat, and that's all the football team does. That's what it is. That is the formula for success. Now, how do they all tie together? Because where the circles intersect is where your optimum success will be. I'm going to ask for volunteers, and I see my good friend Ted's hand went up really, really fast. So you don't mind, Ted, do you? I'll be kind, and there'll be no need to walk up and slap me. I promise you, all right? Well, you just, well, that's right. For those who do not know Ted, he's a good friend of mine. He is the second half of the better half of his lovely wife, Eileen. They are marketing companies. They are delightful people. I would highly recommend introducing yourself. They're great networkers. And the two of them, Tommy and I, we go out to lunch a couple times a year. They're just great people. So I'm just going to use an example. It's going to be kind of lighthearted, to have some fun with it a little bit. Not everything is going to go wrong like this for everyone all at the same time, but we want to make sure we relatively stay on schedule. Okay? So Ted goes to Eileen one day. Eileen, well, first Ted starts realizing that they have excess capacity within their company. Now, they're still turning a profit, but they're not running optimally. So Ted gets really frustrated. But Ted, knowing me, turns that around into a solution-focused question. What can we do other than laying people off or cutting their hours because our employees are really great? Okay? So Ted brings this, right, comes mastering to Eileen. Eileen's in charge of strategic planning. So Ted brings this to Eileen, and Eileen sets a plan. Wow, Ted, that's really great. So they did some math. If they increased their sales by $8,000 to $10,000 a month, 75 to 80% of that would be net profit. Okay? So I think that's a pretty good deal, right, Ted? So Eileen sets the plan. So what do? What's the goal? $8,000 to $10,000 a month. What's the next step? Make people really aware of what we can do. Really aware. So Eileen decides she's going to send out or contact people in a host of different areas, 2,500 business people. Okay? Month one, 2,500 business people. And most industries know if you contact people X amount of time, how many people that is, what the result should be. At least some type of acknowledgement. May not be a contract, but an acknowledgement, right? So, month one, they're not getting the introductions they would really hope for. So Eileen is going, man, there must be a problem. So Eileen starts thinking, maybe it's the anticipated interest rate or inflation. I'm going to share with you something right now. That's this year's problem. Next year will be a new one. The year after that will be a new one, and there will be another new one. In the last 20 years, these are just the ones I can think of really quick. We've had 9/11, the financial meltdown, Iraq war, Afghanistan war, 4 or 5 presidential elections, double the amount of midterms. Now we got the unfortunate situation in Ukraine. There will always be something. Let's not forget the pandemic or the assorted floods. Okay? So be prepared to adjust every time you set a plan, because there will be a macro issue that you have to adjust to, because those issues are not going to adjust for you. So Eileen does the analysis. Eileen decides, I want to hit this number. Ted shakes and says, yes, that's a good number. We're doing 7,500. 7,500 because the numbers are skewed due to this year's problems. Now, all of a sudden, Ted's in charge of sales. Ted's in charge of sales and sometimes bookkeeping. Ted now finally gets the introduction and starts analyzing the problems and providing contracts. Now he's doing that, okay? Providing a solution. Ted's not hitting his numbers. Ted's not hitting his number. Now they can't figure out why. Eileen is reluctant to fire Ted because it'll make lousy dinner time conversation. So she goes, we got to figure this out, all right? What they do is they start analyzing who Ted is speaking with. This is the first time that Ted has ever, most of his presentations have gone to a CFO. These are real situations. I mean, all of a sudden, the personality of who you're providing the contract has changed. Ted's used to going into the marketing or the CEO. So now Ted's got to explain it to fit the CFO. Eileen makes Ted go on a personal preparation program to understand how to better communicate. This stuff happens. Not all on the same marketing plan, but we don't have time for multiple ones. Now, they keep going. They keep going. They're still doing the marketing. Now the contracts come in. Now, all of a sudden, they find out they're not coming out the other side. They have a fulfillment problem, which is as bad as not signing a contract because that's where your next sale begins. So Eileen calls a meeting, but they're all going to be okay when Eileen